today's Behind the Hoop Guts, I am sharing the first in my series of Taylor Swift, The Eras hoops. So this one is based on her debut album, and why don't we start behind the hoop? Let's check out these hoop guts. So you can tell there's a lot going on in this area. This is the Victorian tufted stitch that I worked up. And so there is lots and lots of thread involved in this. And the rest, you can see, is not super crazy. Just a lot of beading thread. So let's go back to the front. So yes, the Victorian tufted stitch, I'm going to show you from the side. There is lots of tulle on this, lots of beads. And why don't I first start by showing you the inspiration for this hoop? All right, so I'm gonna turn this light off. I like to start with a Pinterest inspiration board. That gives me the ideas for the colors that I want to use. You know that each Taylor Swift album has like a color associated with it. The style that I'm kind of looking to incorporate into the hoop, different textures and threads. This is one of my favorite parts of the process, like gathering the inspiration for the hoop. And you know, I love putting color palettes together. Color palette embroideries are like one of my favorite things to do, and throwing different stitches and threads and everything. So I really, this one especially, the colors of this dress, I feel like really inspired the colors that I used on this hoop. It was surprisingly hard to find the right kind of green. It's almost like a minty green, like a minty teal with this like lime green to create like almost like a mermaid sort of effect. So that's how I get started. I like to start with my color palette on Pinterest. And I definitely recommend, if you're going to start doing these color palette embroideries like I like to, give yourself some inspiration boards and just have fun with Pinterest and play around and see what sort of things you like. So let's go more into the details of the hoop. Okay, so let's start with one of my very favorite parts here. We've got our dangly beads, our dangly braids. I had started not fastening the braids to the fabric, but as I added more and more strands of them, it just wasn't giving me the effect that I wanted. So then I did go back and I secured the braids to wherever they were, and then added the strands of beads on top of that. These are layers of beads and sequins, which you can kind of see here. I didn't want to go crazy with sequins for this hoop, because if you look at the inspiration board, she had been incorporating sequins, but not quite to the extent of, if you look at the Eras tour, like the costumes, which I love looking at the costumes for that, not quite as many sequins. So I was careful with the amount of sequins that I added. You can see they're tucked throughout the tulle. We've got them tucked along the edges, but the whole thing is not a sequined beaded hoop. It's a lot of textures. I feel like there were some more natural things like the braids and the fluffy bits. Like I feel like if you look at some of the dresses that she wore, they were like textured like that. So this is my version of what I picture that era to be. And I had a lot of fun with this one. Again, yeah, my favorite part, these dangly little beads. I love this velvet tie that I did at the top. One more view for you from the sides. This one was just a lot of fun to put together, and I can't wait to move on to the Fearless era. So I hope you enjoyed.